Allah salli ala Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm standing here in my backyard in Perth, Western Australia, alhamdulillah. Your home is always considered a place of safety and a place of comfort. And I've finished work and I've sent off our kids, alhamdulillah. They've arrived home safely. And I just thought I'd collect my thoughts and just do a little bit of a broadcast. It's more therapy for myself and also for those of you who I hope will appreciate some of the words that I have to share. I know for many of you, you're waking up in the United Kingdom, in Canada and other places, and you're just beginning to hear of the news and the unfolding tragedy that has afflicted the people of New Zealand, not just the Muslim community of New Zealand. And I want this to be a moment of condolence that is not just given to us or offered to us as Muslims. We are not the other. We are a part and parcel of whatever community that we reside in. And I want it to be something that you and we can appreciate, that this is not something that just has befallen us as Muslims, but this has befallen us as humanity. So the three things that I want to emphasize today. There was a clear intent by that criminal, devil-inspired, mass murderer. Irrespective of his name, and I wouldn't even utter his name. It's something that is of great, disrespect to even make mention of him in such an important moment. But I want you to understand that there was a calculated intent. There was an intent to make a fatal injury, to ignite hostility, to put bloodshed at the center stage and in the hearts of people. And it was almost as if that there was this call and rising to do something about what he saw as a great grievance in life, that people had come to reside in peace with others. It bore insult to him that there was a place called Masjid al-Nur, the house of light, the house of God, that is named after one of God's attributes, the place of divine light. It gave him great grievance that there were people who would take off their shoes and make ablutions and hush mumbled prayers for their families and loved ones near and abroad, and be appreciative of the life that they had built and the things that they had given. And I want this to be something that you consider, that this is not a tragedy that's visited upon Muslims. This is a tragedy that is visited upon us as human beings. It's a human issue. And that's the first thing. My condolences to all of us. And my condemnation is also to all of us. There is so much more that we could do. And I want to show appreciation to all of those, the chief rabbi in Perth, which is the city I live in. He sent a wonderful message of condolence. Many ministers, many people of government, in opposition as well as in government here in the state and abroad, have expressed phenomenal statements of support. But one of the things that I think is really, really important is that, words are important, but we can do so much more. And it's something that we need to go past just the regular statements of condemnation. One of the things that I'm accused of as an imam regularly by people who have ill intent is they say, why don't we hear Muslims coming out? Why don't we hear Muslims coming out and condemning, this atrocity? There's this Muslim terrorist who's done this crime. And I can say to you time and time again that there is a huge effort within our Islamic community to distance ourselves from any of the criminal activity that is seen to try to paint us, although we're innocent of it, as being of the same brush and of the same paint. And I don't expect this from my fellow neighbor. I'm not going to go across the road and ask someone whose name is Brendan, do you agree with what that man did? I'm not going to go across the road and look at someone by the color of their skin or expect them to be outcast on account of the crime of a particular individual. And therefore, you would find it incredulous that someone, for example, in New Zealand would say, from now on, stop Australians from coming into New Zealand. They only bring, this kind of tragedy and trouble. We need to vet them more. We need to keep borders more locked. We need to, do more and more and more. Those are all things that become part of the dynamic of discussion when it's a Muslim who commits that crime. You'll find people who make these kind of unsubstantiated remarks that Islam is synonymous with terrorism. But I could say to you that when you look on the whole, when you see what has been happening around the world, you will find that it does not make up a majority of it, and it's a vast minority in comparison to the amount of crimes and atrocities that are committed around the world in the names of hate. The second thing that I want to leave you with as an important message with my thoughts about New Zealand is that the Kiwi people did not deserve this. Nobody deserved this, but the Kiwi people were a people who, you know, have had so much hardship in the last few years, especially the people of Christchurch. You know, believe it or not, I was asked and scheduled to come in the end of September to do a marriage retreat in Christchurch, in and around that very same area. And it was something where couples were going to come together and enjoy the beauty of that country. And one of the reasons, you know, thoughts behind it was, you know, we want to, you know, celebrate the beauty of that land, the beauty of that people, the kindness that they've always shared. But there was an ill intent. There was someone who saw that as a point of weakness. And I want you to know, compassion is not a point of weakness. My dear brethren, my brothers and sisters of Queensland, Muslim and non-Muslim, and I begin with the non-Muslim, continue to be as compassionate and as loving and as kind as you've always been. Continue to be generous in spirit and attached to your fellow man. You know, the words of your Prime Minister are a reflection of the values that you have shared with others. And sadly, it's not always mimicked in places that I've lived in other places around the world. You should be very proud of yourselves and proud of the country and the culture that you have brought together. The third thing that I want to say, and one of the things that, you know, is a maxim in our Quran, one of the teachings of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is that he said to us, idfa' billati hiya ahsan, push back. We don't take it, but we got to push back with that which is better than what we receive. Push back with compassion against aggression. Push back with love against hate. And push back with kindness against insult. فَإِذَا الَّذِي بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ عَدَاوَةٌ. Perhaps in your conduct of seeking to show the best of your faith, the best of your Islam, you can turn the heart of an enemy to that of a loyal and avowed friend. And I can tell you that this ill intent to separate us and pull us apart is going to do nothing but bring the communities together. You're going to see that New Zealand is going to thrive with their love and their compassion and their acceptance and their solidarity with everyone in their community. It's not going to be something where it's going to meet the ill intent that was set upon in the wicked heart of that criminal and those 2 or 3 individuals that were apprehended. The final thing that I want to say to you is that I want you to carry this message from me as a person who's a practitioner of Islam, and a person who leads at an Islamic school, and a person who leads the prayers for my Muslim community here and internationally all around the world. I want you to know that the greatest way of eliminating fear is to engage with others. I want you to get to meet me, and I want you to get to know me, and I want you to know that the reason that gunmen walked into a mosque that didn't have a door that was locked is because that's who we are as people. We don't want to keep you at bay. We want you to come and visit us and show us love so that we can reciprocate it. And as a Muslim, I invite you to visit our mosque. I invite you to call up your community, and I invite you to come and ask more about us. You want to ask me about why I have a beard or why my wife wears a scarf? You want to ask me about my children, about our food and what's halal and what's haram? You want to ask, but don't keep it as something that can fester and boil into something that can cause this cancerous growth that we have within our communities, both within Islamic extremism and any other type of extremism. One of the things that I want you to consider is that extremists are of the same religion, irrespective of whatever God they invoke or no God that they invoke. They have the same ideology and mindset that I'm going to ignite hate amongst people, and I hope that they will follow me in it. But I say to you that we can ignite love, and that we can share love with each other, and that we can do better and come together as a community. And I speak to you from my home. I purposefully spoke to you from my own backyard, and I want you to know that I'm committed to you here in WA and anywhere that I visit. I'm committed to making myself tenable and accessible to you. Open your heart and may our hearts connect. And I hope, and I leave you with words of peace. I leave you with the words of Al-Quran. You know, God Almighty, for us as a Muslim in our tradition, He says to us that His greatest name, the one name that doesn't have any qualification, the one name that He uses for Himself without any beginning or ending after, is that He is Ar-Rahman. He is the ever merciful, the Lord of mercy. And even in this moment of ugliness, God's mercy exists. And I pray that out of that and this tragedy, that we can see the manifestation of God's mercy in the love and the kindness that is going to be generated. I pray for myself and you, but mostly for those who have departed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept them as martyrs for our faith and for the land of New Zealand. May they be remembered, may their families be supported, and may we be cause of a generation that comes forward that will eliminate this kind of heartache and hardship. May God support those who are assisting to bring an end to this tyranny that we inflict upon each other, and may we be people of generosity and of kindness, and may we expend our compassion towards those who it's hard to show compassion to. The statement of God that the Prophet relates to us is, he says, "Wajabat mahabbati," my love is compulsory, will descend upon those who have the capacity to love others because of me. And my teachers, they would say, Yahya, that means to love the one who you find difficult to love, not to love the one only who it's easy to love. May God open our hearts to love those who we find difficulty in loving. It's your brother Yahya Ibrahim. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.